Hi, it's Phil here from Revive My Ride, and in this video I'll show you how to make patch panels for car rust repair. And what I've learned is you really don't need lots of fancy equipment, and in fact you've probably got everything that you need already in your garage. The basic techniques that I'm about to show you are getting it done on my Porsche restoration project, so keep watching and let's get to it. First thing I'm going to do is measure how long I need my patch panel to be, and so down here it's 158 millimeters. But I'm going to add on a little bit at each end because I have a joggler tool. And if you don't know what a joggler tool is, don't worry because I'll get to it in a minute. But basically it's a way of putting a little crease in, which means you can kind of inset a panel. The amount I need that goes into the tool is 12 millimeters on either side. So we've got the 158 and then it's going to be plus 12 at this end. And then I want 12 at the other end as well, so that's 182. So I'm just going to mark that 182 onto this bit of card that I've got here. So just at the bottom there, and then, okay, so that's our first measurement. The next thing that we've got, I think that you guys can probably just see that there's an L shape here. So there's actually a lip, and I'm just going to measure the depth of that. And it's 15 millimeters. Okay, so just marking on the 15 millimeters. There's a little bit of room at the back, although there's this circular thing at this side. At the back, it's not there. Given that some of that is eroded away there, I think it's best to go for 15 millimeters. So 15 millimeters all the way across until it gets to the 60 point. So you remember me saying that it's going to be 60 now. There we go, so that's 60. And then I felt that, well, I measured at the back, you saw me do it. 15 millimeters. Okay, and so this is effectively a fold line here all the way across. So it's worth marking on here approximately where the 60 comes to, which is about there. I'm just going to have this straight edge across the bottom because I want to measure the next part of the panel, how much it's going to go up behind here. I can see it's about 25 millimeters to there, and then I think another 15 at the back, so that makes it 40. Yeah, so here's the 60 point, and we decided that we wanted this bit, again measuring from the bottom here, to be 40 millimeters tall. Mark the line on like that so you guys can see. So that's effectively my my panel now. Now what I'm going to do is cut this out and then I can offer it up. But it is worth cutting this out really accurately, so you can see I'm taking a bit of time over this. And that's because we're going to draw around it in a minute to do our steel patch panel. So if we cut this really roughly, then we lose some of our accuracy on our steel panel. So you remember me saying that this is one of the fold lines here. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of put my steel rule there. Obviously I've done the indentation from the pen earlier, but by laying the steel rule on it, then I can get it up nice and crisp like that. Okay, so I'm just going to offer my panel up. It's a little bit difficult to show you, but this line here, I'm just making sure that it lines up with that edge really nicely there, and the same at the other side here. And it seems pretty good, that. So what I'm going to do now is just transfer it to steel. It's probably worth mentioning here that if your plan was to butt weld this panel into place, because let's say it was on the exterior of your car, then what you could do is trace the edges of the patch onto the card here, just along here, and then trim this piece of card and then transfer that to the steel. And that would effectively mean you were inlaying the steel rather than fitting it behind. Here's our template, and I'm just going to lay it on there. So what I'll do is I'll actually just cut to the inside edges. So what I've got here are just some simple straight cutting tin snips. Now what you find with tin snips is the excess material, if you can make it curve away, then it makes it a bit easier to keep cutting with it. And don't worry if this piece distorts, because you can always flatten it out again later. I've just been trying not to cut too far into the corners, so that's why I had to wiggle that piece free, because it wasn't quite snipped completely, and that's so I don't get any overcutting, which would weaken this piece of material. So I'll just stop a fraction early before the corner, and then I'll just wiggle that piece out. Yeah, so I'm just going to straighten this out a little bit. If you've got a vise in your garage, this flat part here is usually okay for doing a little bit of hammering on if you need to. It's not super critical, but it's just a little bit high on this edge. That piece of steel I'd already cut out a panel before, and so that's why that wasn't completely straight. So I'm just going to file that back a little bit, and what you'll find is I just file in one direction only, not back and forth, because you have more control and you're more likely to get it flat that way. Okay, so I think that's looking a bit better now. And then also I'm just going to use the file just to take the bare edges off. And now all I've got to do is get this paint off, so that then I can have a nice panel to be welding in. And what I've found is one of the most effective ways of getting paint off a panel, whether that's on your car or you're using a used piece of steel like this, is with a 40 grit flat wheel in an angle grinder. There you go. Technically I could have left some of the paint on the middle, but I've got my own products that I want to paint on anyway. Okay, so this is my joggler tool, so it's going to put that little crease into my patch panel. It'll form the crease 12mm from this end. So I just push that in now. Make sure I've got it square. And I'm hoping you can see that okay. But it's created that little crease in the steel. So I just have one to do at the other side as well. So I'm just going to mark up where I'm going to do the fold, and I know it's from the edge here to the edge on the other side. I'll just get a nice thick amount of pen in here first. Then obviously that's too thick for folding along, but I've literally just put it in for the colour really, because what I'll do now is I'll scribe a scratch into that black line, and it will be a much more accurate line because the scribe's a lot finer. Hopefully you can see that line okay. Okay, so we're ready to do the bending now on our patch panel. So I'm going to get my special bending jaws for the vise out. And yes, they're just pieces of angle iron. The good thing about angle iron, it has a nice crisp edge on it. So all you need really is a front piece and a rear one. And then you just put your piece of material in. And I'm just going to go along and tap it a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the back edge low down. So I'm actually trying to bend it at the bottom edge. And you really are concentrating on the seam because you want it as crisp as possible. The rest of this you can kind of almost bend by hand really. So as it happens, I wasn't very happy when I offered the patch panel up, because behind this piece on the other side is quite uneven, and there's multiple layers of steel. And so what that's doing is it's actually making the panel fit a lot further than I expected. So this edge here, there's a good few millimeters. And all of this looks quite untidy anyway, so I had planned on doing a little bit of cutting. So what I decided to do is to tidy it up now. Make this panel, this patch panel actually sit on the front side at this end, and then I'll have a look and see what to do about the other end once I've done that. So yeah, just going to mark that up and then do a little bit of cutting. So I think I'm just going to cut around this profile here. And then this I don't really need to mark as such, because I'm just going to be taking any of these jagged edges off like that. Okay, so I've had the piece in and out a few times and done a few modifications. and then I think that it's looking pretty good for a patch panel. So just a few final little touches and then I'll be looking to get that welded in. I know it looks a bit of a mess, I'm going to try and sand it back. I probably got a little bit too fast a feed on my wire there, but I can feel it at the other side, and so it feels nice and strong. So I'll see what I can get in terms of sanding back and tidying it up a little bit. Okay, so that's the patch panel welded in, so all I need to do is grind back and get some primer on there, so I'm pretty much finished there. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing and clicking the bell, and you'll be notified of my next video. As always, if you have any questions or comments at all, then please go ahead and post them below. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.